From the 90s Summer Studio. It's your boy, Dr. Gorilla, with my main man.
White Cube.
And it's 90s Summer. All summer long.
Again.
If you need to find any of our socials, go to thedonutshopboys.com. We got links to all of them in there. Just check it out.
Mm-hmm. Give us a follow.
Yeah, throw us a follow. Throw us a pity like. Go to YouTube, play our podcast, just leave it on in the background while you're taking a dump.
Need all the help we can get.
Struggling out here.
Yeah.
So what was yesterday? Father's
Day. Happy Single Mother's Day as well.
Yeah. For all of you who go on social media to rant about your poor choices and mates.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I hope everybody had a good Father's Day. Spent some quality time with your dad. If you are a father, I hope you spent some quality time with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And my advice is to be present in their lives.
Yeah. Mine are still little and they grow up fast, though.
Yeah.
I can already attest to that.
Dude, I mean, you knew my kids when they were little.
Yeah.
And look how big they are now.
It's wild.
Yeah. Like, think about when you first met me and, like, came to my son's baseball game and where he's at now.
Yeah. Like, your kids they were close to the same age as what mine are now. Back then.
Yes.
Yeah. A little bit older, I think, but close.
I think a year older.
Yeah.
Than yours are now.
But it's wild, man.
Yeah, and now they're a teenager and a preteen.
Yeah.
Like, legit, within the next 8 months, I'll have 2 teenagers.
Yeah. Pretty soon, you're going to have your own chauffeur.
Yes. Yes. She's already my, personal assistant.
Okay.
Yeah, she goes shopping with me. Like, if I need to run out, if my wife sends me out to just like, hey, we're making this for supper and I don't have this ingredient or whatever, or we need these 3 things, my daughter tags right along and she'll help me look for it, because I'm like, man, if it's not something I buy frequently,
yeah, I don't know what
I
this
can be
is.
I can be looking right at. We think very, very extreme first world problems where you go to the store and there are too many choices. And I'm not playing that off, man. It's a shame.
Yeah.
It really is a shame. We have so many choices that I'm like, I don't know what to do. But that's the joy of being a dad. My daughter is always willing to jump in there and help me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Mine goes through phases sometimes. Sometimes she don't want to leave the house. Other times she wants to go. But I think it's just her age right now.
Yeah, I'm oddly enough, I thought my daughter would be reaching that age where, she's too cool for her parents, but if dad's grabbing the car keys, she's
where are we going?
She's ready to go.
That's cool.
Right now her mom needs some help from her at home, so that's why she's not here. Because she did express the desire to be here for an episode. We might have her on the next 90s Summer episode.
Okay.
She's really into 90s music right now. We have a third pair of 90s shades.
Yeah.
She can rock her. She can rock the pink ones maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
But I hate that I'm not wearing. Neither one of us are wearing 90s apparel. But
yeah,
this is Father's Day episode. This one's for the dads.
Yeah.
So tell me, man, or if you want, I can go first. Tell me a little bit about your dad, just him as a guy.
Well, my family was kind of messed up a little bit, so I saw him every other weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Every other weekend. I did all my schoolwork and blah 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 or whatever. But when it was Dad's weekend, we really just played a bunch of video games and hung out and played with action figures. And there's one memory that I will always have for my dad is that he did put the time in and played whatever I was interested in at the time. He would play it with me.
That's cool.
Whether it be a video game or little G.I. Joes or any of that. So, yeah.
And how old was your dad when you were born?
20.
20. Okay, so you were young
yeah.
dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad was 24
mm-hmm.
when I was born. He was almost 25. Or no, wait. No. I take that back. He was 23 when I was born, but he was like 3 weeks away from turning 24.
Gotcha.
But it was a different time too. A 24-year-old when I was born compared to a 20-year-old when you were born, they might as well be,
Yeah.
50 and 25, like the age difference and kind of the way they seem.
Yeah.
My dad he worked a lot. He did always spend time with me. He didn't always take time. But he was a fucking worker. He worked at the same place for 33 years.
Wow.
Yeah, he grew up the son of a truck driver who was always on the road and always wished that his dad was there. And when his dad would be there, like he'd have a baseball game or something. And he'd be like, man, my dad's never here. I wish he could see, I hit a home run or whatever, and he didn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when his dad finally would be there off the road, he would be drunk and cause a scene, and then my dad would wish that he wasn't there. So he wanted to definitely make sure that he wasn't that dad to me.
Yeah.
So he would be so tired, but he would work, and he would come home, and whatever season it was or whatever I was kind of into at the time, sometimes I would know he was home. He used to have this really loud truck we called Old Blue, and finally Old Blue kind of hit the skids and he had to get a different car, but we used to be able to hear him, and that was tough times. If I had done something and I was in trouble, to be able, like, my mom's like, wait till your father gets home.
Yeah.
And I was Southern, so they said, Daddy, wait till your daddy gets home. No, I don't think anyone in my family's ever said the word father except for Father's Day. It was wait till your daddy gets home. And I could hear him from the highway, which is like several blocks from my house. You could hear my dad's truck coming down the highway, and you knew you had like 2 minutes before he was pulling in the driveway. But if I wasn't in trouble, and it was, I knew that I'd hear the truck pulling the driveway, and I would automatically just go running out to the front yard to meet him. Because whatever I brought to him, if I brought the football out there or whatever, we were going to throw football until it was time to get, either till he was too tired and really like he had to get off his feet because he'd been at the factory all day. Or if it was time to eat supper, we would go in the house. But we would throw football, or we would play basketball. My dad was an excellent basketball player. He would come home I remember when he had a quiet car, he would come home, you wouldn't even know he was home. And I'd be in my bedroom, like, playing Sega or whatever. And I would hear the basketball bouncing outside on the dirt basketball court that we had behind the house. And I would know my dad was home, and I would run outside and we would shoot hoops for same thing until he was just absolutely just too tired. He had to go inside, or it was time to eat supper. He'd go and wash his hands and everything to eat supper. But the number of touchdowns that I caught from this man, because he would, he didn't want to run routes. He was tired. He worked all day. So he'd be the quarterback. When we would throw football, it would be me like running routes in the front yard. Yeah. He would just be
trying to wear you out too.
He was always amazed at my willingness. He always said I should have been a receiver. I liked playing running back or I played quarterback a couple years, but I liked playing running back. Don't know why, but he always wanted me to be a receiver because he said that was my skill set. I have really good hands. I can catch, and I'm good at tracking something in the air and like good at hand-eye coordination. But he would throw. We had this giant bush in the corner of our yard, and he'd have me just run a deep route. And he'd be like, he'd say, in the bush. And I'd run straight down the field, and he would lob it up high, and the ball was going to land in the bush. And I would jump up and high point it, like catching a Hail Mary pass on the last play of a game at the back of the end zone. I would jump up and high point this football and land in the middle of this bush with like no fear of getting injured by like the various branches of this giant bush. And he loved doing that. He just, we'd always end the session with, all right, in the bush. And he'd lob it up high, and I would jump into the bush, and then we'd go in and eat. And we talked about that, like, as I got older, that like probably thousands of touchdowns that he threw me into the bush. But he was my baseball coach. He was my basketball coach. Well, the biggest thing I can remember about him in basketball was that he he had me play point guard,
Mm-hmm.
which is like the quarterback of a basketball team. But he was a good coach in that the offense. It's good to have your point guard at the house with you every day.
Mm-hmm.
You can teach him the whole offense. You can critique him and everything. You got more practice time. He didn't have the offense geared around me at all. It was not I've got this set up so that my son can score and look good. The offense was set up around the two forwards, the power forward and the small forward. And I would call the plays, and depending on what play I called, I would be passing the ball to one of the two forwards for them to score. And my time to score would come on fast break plays. But shot go up, we're on defense, and as soon as I see one of our guys go up and snag the rebound, I'm to sprint down to the other end of the court, and their job is to not even look, just throw the ball down the court as far as they can, because he knew I would run down there and catch it and score. But I can remember basketball. He would your super bubble gum. It comes in like the plain flavor comes in like a red, yellow, and blue wrapper that's got like the two twisted ends.
Yeah.
And the flavors are like that and strawberry, I think, and green apple and grape.
Okay.
And they usually, like, you go into the gas station, they're usually on the bottom shelf of the candy aisle, just loose pieces of individually wrapped bubble gum. You just grab them.
Yeah.
Like 3 cents a piece or some shit. He would buy a paper bag full of those, and he would pass them out to the basketball players, which seems like a choking hazard now.
Yeah.
But he said when he played basketball, he always liked to chew bubble gum because he felt like it relaxed him. So that's probably what people will remember from my dad, people that grew up around him. I got a lot of funny stories about my dad. He was a funny dude, man. He always played. He was a good athlete. He played softball for his work team, and was really good at that. Like I remember one year we went to the World Championships because he got picked up from that league, from that like factory league. He got picked up to play for the state team, and then we went to Georgia where he played in like the World Softball Championships. And
wow.
I remember that because that was my first time I ever went to the beach. Was while we were down there in Georgia. When they got done with the tournament, we drove over to Savannah, and I got to go to the beach. Fucking 90s summer. No, I don't know. If it probably wasn't 90s summer. I think it was the 80s.
Yeah.
I think it was Hurricane Hugo, whenever that was. Probably late 80s. We were there days before Hurricane Hugo hit the East Coast. Yeah. But I can remember they had a women's team too, and both my dad's sisters played on the women's team. They didn't work at the factory, but it was like sisters, wives, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And actually my aunt, her husband at the time, my cousin's dad, before they got divorced, he worked at the factory with my dad for a bit, and he played on the men's team too. But I remember there was this dude, we were at this game, and there was this dude that wouldn't stop talking shit. He was drunk. I was a little kid. I was real young, and he would not stop talking shit. And I don't know if his wife played for the other team, or he worked at the other factory, or he was just an asshole or whatever. But
he just scored some free tickets to a softball game.
Right, yeah. He won them off the radio or something. Yeah. Third caller at WDBL in Springfield.
Yeah.
My fucking OGs from home are going to know what that is. It wasn't WKDF, RIP. But he kept talking shit, and then my dad, he was biting his tongue because he's just like, let this asshole run his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, when I was a kid in the fucking Vietnam era or whenever it was that I grew up, Coke bottles and like Pepsi bottles and stuff were still glass.
Yeah,
they were still glass bottles with a metal twist top. And my dad had finished a little short boy Pepsi. It was like that big. It was probably like a 12 ounce. I don't know exactly what size they were, but it was about the size of a 12 ounce can. But it was a glass bottle. And finally, my Aunt Tina, she was a really good athlete. And all the women in my family are, great athletes. The men are good athletes. Okay. So she hit like a triple. I don't remember if she actually hit a triple, but what I do remember from my very young mind at the time was seeing her stop at third base. She didn't slide into third, but she stopped short at third and didn't run on to home. And everybody was clapping. And I remember the dude that was behind us saying, "I wish she had tripped and broke her ugly face." And my granny, my dad's mother, sitting beside him, said, "I wish you would shut your ugly face." And he said, "Why don't you turn your ass around and make me?" And my dad picked up that fucking Pepsi bottle and said, "If you don't shut the fuck up, you're about to be wearing this glass all inside your head." And that dude got down off the bleachers and walked away, and I never saw him again.
Hell yeah.
My dad was a character, man. He was a peacemaker too. Like he wasn't. I know you've said before, like how uncomfortably confrontational I can get sometimes.
Yeah. You're saying that doesn't come from your dad.
Yeah, no, I think that comes from my mom's side of the family, 100%. Because he was more of a peacemaker, but you push him, it's going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough, though, just random memory, the concession stand for that little softball complex was an old wooden train caboose.
Okay.
Like still on the tracks. It was like the fucking Wild West train tracks came through there, and a caboose got stuck, and they tore up the tracks and modernized the city. And like, what are we going to do with this caboose? Like, I don't know. We'll build a softball complex here someday. What's softball? I don't know. It's a sport made so that old dudes can still feel athletic. We're not ready for bowling yet.
Yeah.
Golf's too expensive. But yeah, Dad, another time he went to there was these kids, and they kept bashing people's mailboxes with baseball bats. But they weren't doing it from cars like typically like you see on movies and shit.
Yeah.
They were just walking. There were hoodlums that just walked up and down the street doing it.
Ballsy as hell.
Yeah. And Dad, our road, what's really ballsy about it is that our road that I grew up on was like a cul-de-sac before cul-de-sacs were really a thing. It was a turnaround. You go down, and instead of just a big paved area circle, it was a circle around a teardrop of grass. It was like a teardrop of grass with a fire hydrant in the middle. And you go around that. I used to ride my bike down that thing, and it was a fun ride. You get down there, bank into the turn and turn around the teardrop. And what you didn't realize on the way down, it was kind of like running your PT test on March Road. You didn't realize on the way down there that you were slightly going downhill the whole time.
Yeah.
And then you come back up to my house, and it wasn't a steep hill, but it was a long hill.
Yeah.
The whole way back to the house, uphill.
Oof.
But they had gone down. They'd gone down our road, and like there were roads that like on either side of mine, but very short period where they overlap, and in between there was woods. Like once you started to get towards the end of my road, or maybe the middle of my road where I grew up, it was woods on either side.
Mm-hmm.
And then those woods led out into a larger section of woods that went all the way to the next town. So like I grew up both in the woods and in a neighborhood because literally my backyard, I could walk out of my back door, walk into the woods, turn right, and go for miles and not see another house, road, or anything.
Gotcha.
But go the other direction and walk up to the little local stores and shit that was in town, the main street and all that. But he saw them walk down the road with their fucking baseball bat over their shoulder, and it's like, you stupid fucks. Unless you're going to go traipsing off through the woods in pitch black darkness, you got to turn around and come back up this road.
Mm-hmm.
So he went outside and ducked down between the cars, like his truck and my mom's car. And sure enough, our mailbox was the one they decided to target. And as they got close to the mailbox and they went their backswing, he fucking stood up from between the cars and cocked his fucking .22 rifle. It was like, don't you even fucking think about it. And they all tried to run, but then the one kid was too scared to run, and he just sat there shaking with his hands up. And then he was able to get all their names from that one kid. But Dad was a character, man. Yeah, he coached all my ball teams except for football. He thought he was my football coach, though. I would come off the field, and it didn't matter what I did. I had a game where I had moved from receiver to running back. We got a new coach, and he just ran an offense that didn't throw the ball very much. And I was going into my sophomore year. I was already the biggest receiver on the team. I was bigger physically than the senior receivers. So he told me, he was like, we're going to move you to running back. We're going to get you more involved in the offense, move you to running back. And as a result of that, I had to relearn all the plays because I was playing a different position. I knew the plays, but I didn't know exactly what some other fucking position was doing during this play.
Yeah,
right?
you just know what you're doing.
I knew what I was doing. I did know the plays where the running back, like the tailback, got the football. Mm-hmm. Like everybody knows those plays. But, all the plays where you have to block and all that bullshit, you don't know the blocking assignments. So I had to play 2 JV games as a sophomore, which is typical of a sophomore, but it wouldn't have been for me. If I hadn't changed positions, I was not the sophomore that's going to be playing in JV games because I was already on the 2 deep. I was on the 2 deep on defense as a freshman for varsity. But I had a game where I touched the ball 5 times and scored 3 touchdowns. And probably still caught a mean-ass critique on the way home of everything I could have done better. So he thought he was my football coach. But he, what you don't realize a lot of the times is when your dad is hard on you, it's because they see your potential.
Yeah.
And they want you to realize your potential because they feel like they haven't. I think everybody feels like they haven't realized their potential. And it took getting older and becoming a father myself to realize, to really relate to some of the things that he said to me over the years. And when I thought he was being an asshole, thought that he was being unreasonable. He was never unreasonable. Maybe sometimes his punishments were unreasonable, but the expectation that I didn't meet was not unreasonable, ever. But probably my best dad story. And it's the one that I had our friend, my dad was a youth pastor also, later, like as he got kind of towards the middle of his life. He ran into some trouble, and his friend that used to party with him when he was a youngster came to our house after he kind of found out that my dad got arrested and stuff, and was like, "Hey, I'm a pastor now, and I want to invite you to our church." And my dad went out there for a few years and really got his life. He was always a good father. He was always a good worker, but he just, he got caught buying pot. He got caught buying a fuck ton of it too.
Okay. Yeah. That'll do it.
Yeah. So he got his life on track and ended up becoming the youth pastor at this church. And one of the kids that was a few years older than me that was in the youth group, I won't say solely dad was responsible. Obviously, he comes from a great family, has great parents and everything, but dad was really instrumental and important to him in his relationship with God. And he ended up becoming a pastor while I was still a teenager. So he had to be early 20s, maybe even 19, 20 years old, and was already a pastor. And he had come through my dad's youth group. Mm-hmm. And he officiated my dad's funeral. And he came to my brother and I and with a notepad and was like, "Hey, what's a really funny Donnie story that you want me to tell when I get up there?" And me and my brother both looked at each other instantly and were just smiled. We're the Cool Rock story. It's a real short story, but it's just stuck with me and my brother because that's who Dad was.
Yeah.
He was he could be so fucking hard on you. God, man, he would if he wanted me to do something, if I knew if I was in trouble or I had to do something, he would call me boy. He wouldn't use my name. He would say boy. Mm. And it was out of love, but also to get your attention, hey boy. And God, we had a big ass yard, and our granny lived next door, and he never, like, once I got old enough, he never mowed the yard, at least not fully by himself. Me and him would take shifts because it was Tennessee, obviously not Arizona.
Yeah.
You know, I know you're out there mowing your sand. But he would mow for like 30 minutes, and then it'd be my turn to go out there and mow while he came in and, you know, drank like a glass of sweet tea or whatever. And that's who he was, dude. And if I wanted to do something, before he would let me leave with my friends, he would give me like this big ass lecture, and I'd be like, okay. And I'd be like looking out the window. I'm like, they're in the driveway. They're gonna leave if you don't just stop the lecture. And then be like, all right. And then before I walk out, he's like, did you feed your dog, boy? Oh, my little brother literally does nothing all day. Can he not feed the dog?
Yeah.
Or he'd say, did you pick up all the sticks in the yard? And I'd have to go. And I know you're not. You don't have a look.
Weeds.
Okay, pulling weeds.
Yeah.
That's the Arizona equivalent of picking up sticks. Every Southern kid can tell you about picking up sticks.
Okay.
That's what your dad would make you do. He'd make you go around the yard and pick up every stick out of the yard, and whatever each family had something different they did with them. We just threw them off in the woods, but it was so he didn't run over them with the lawnmower. But then he would have these times where he would just be big, goofy, fun-loving dad, and that's the story that we told that David told at Dad's funeral. We were sitting there, me and my brother were in our bedroom. I don't know where our sister was. She might have been at our grandparents or something. And it was just me, Dad, and my brother at the house. And me and my brother are playing probably PlayStation 1 or some shit. And Dad's in his bedroom. He was always in there listening to music. And he had some, I don't know what it was, 70s rock. I like 70s rock, but I can't recall what exactly he was listening to. And out of nowhere, dude. Remember my story about my granny? My dad's mom kicking in the door?
No-knock warrant?
It was like that. Dad hit that no-knock on us. Kicked open our bedroom door. Me and my brother shared a bedroom. Kicked open the bedroom door and like slid in there like risky business. Wearing nothing but a pair of whitey-tighties, like BVD whitey-tighties. And like mid-length white socks. And no pants, no shirt. And he was like gyrating his hips and playing the air guitar. And he was like, you boys are missing the cool rock.
So he had smoked a little too much that day.
No, dude, he knew he was being goofy. Like he didn't think he was like fucking cool daddy coming in there in his underwear playing it was like, I'm gonna try to make these fools laugh.
Yeah.
That's 100% what he was trying to do. He was trying to make us laugh. And boy, did he. Like, that story's making me laugh like 25 years later because it was such a Donnie thing to do. Like, he just fucking kicked open the door. I can still to this day see it. You boys are missing the cool rock. And by then, I think my parents were probably, if not divorced, they were separated. And my mom always cut his hair, and he wasn't going to pay for haircuts. So he started cutting his own hair. But part of that meant he just cut what he could see, which meant the front, top, and the sides. So my dad, he had a mullet for like the last 15 years of his life. And he had his mullet just flapping in the wind, and he was, you boys are missing the cool rock. We used to always laugh. He drove for a while there, he drove a 91 Camaro Rally Sport with T-tops.
Okay.
And he'd take the T-tops out, and he'd be, that thing it was like his old truck, old blue. It was loud. Mm-hmm. And you'd see him coming down the road with them T-tops out and his mullet just flapping in the wind. Like a flag telling you that, it's freedom time in America. But yeah, man. I don't want to go on and on and on, but I hope that everybody enjoyed that, and I hope that you have memories with your father. I don't know, you got anything?
And nothing like that. No, no,
no cool rock stories.
No, I didn't have it. Wasn't the same type of childhood.
Wasn't the same dynamic.
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah, but
probably a lot like what my, like when my mom got remarried, Dad took it hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think he always thought that they'd work it out,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And he wasn't. He loved my sister, and she has great memories of him. I don't want to speak for her or on her behalf. But he wasn't the same dad to her that he was to me.
Mm-hmm.
And in my brother's later teen years, he wasn't the same dad to him that he was to me all through my childhood. But then also part of that was they had it better as little kids than I did. Because when I was a little kid, he was a good father, but he didn't fully have it together. Like I said, he got arrested when I was in like first or second grade.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of stuff that I saw that I shouldn't have. I'm not going to say like I've got some traumatic story or something, but just he should have been more responsible. But at the same time, I was his buddy, man.
Mm-hmm.
I went everywhere with him except to buy drugs. He would play basketball on the weekends, and he would take me with him.
Yeah.
Like he would play basketball with a group of guys, and I'd always go with him. And then, you know, I lost my dad January 29th, 2014. He passed away. And I will caution anybody, if you're unable to contact a loved one, and no one's heard from them, don't send another member of your family to go check on them, please. If you fear for the worst, call the police and have them do a welfare check.
Yeah.
Because my granny, not thinking the worst anyway, she sent my brother to go check on her dad, and my brother was the one who found my dad, and he shouldn't have to live with that. So I would caution anybody to send the police. It's their job. It's to them. It may not be the greatest thing that they ever saw, but it's a stranger.
Yeah.
You know, they're walking in there and seeing a stranger dead, which I've done on the job before, and it's not great, but it didn't traumatize me.
Yeah.
And for you, I don't want to dig into your life, man. I don't want to tell you what to do, but I will tell you that it's not too late to have a relationship with your father. And I know that it would be one-sided if you tried right now.
Oh, yeah.
But that shouldn't stop you from trying, because you're going to outlive your father. Like, very real statistically, especially given your father's condition. You're going to outlive your father. And that's why I told you, I didn't want to warn you, man. I don't want to put you on the spot, but this is what I knew I was going to get serious about with this episode was, like, I don't have my dad, and you do.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to take him for granted. And because you are going to outlive him, he's never going to have to live with the fact that the two of you didn't reconcile.
Yeah.
He's going to die unreconciled and never think about it again. But when he passes, you're going to have to live with it. And if you don't reconcile and you're not unable to, you can live with that. But if you don't try, you're going to have to live with the fact that you didn't try. So I ask you as a favor to me. I know I've asked you before, but I ask you as a favor to me at some point. Like, try to mend that bridge, even if you're just.
I need him to reconcile too.
I know you do, but that's why I said that you can live with it. If you don't reconcile, at least you can live with knowing that you tried.
Yeah,
and I know that you have tried.
I tried before he left.
I know you did. But don't completely give up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's just a text. Text is easy.
And I'll tell you this too, separate, a little bit of devil's advocate, but the fact that he hadn't even tried to connect with his grandchildren.
I know.
I mean, that kind of kills it for me too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But.
Well, I mean, I get it, man. Like the later years of my dad's life, he didn't even see what he had done wrong. Like he didn't see the ways that he wasn't there for my sister.
Yeah.
Or our half sister that we didn't even know that we had until I knew she existed, but I didn't know she was my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that his ex, she didn't make him. She said, "I got this. It's fine," you know. But that shouldn't have stopped him from trying to be a dad to her. But
Well,
don't just don't close the door. That's all I'm asking.
oh yeah, I mean, on my side the door's not closed. If he texts me right now, I'd respond.
Yeah.
I just have a hard time sending him a text right now.
Yeah.
Or a phone call or anything like. It'd start with a text first, but
A text is easy. That's why I said a text. A text is super easy.
But the fact that he hasn't, even for them or something, and the fact that I left it open at the end, I didn't, you know what I mean? I was trying to help him out with stuff.
Yeah.
And then it was just, I didn't talk to him since. So
I understand.
maybe he listens to the show though, and he'll reach out.
Like father, like son.
Yeah.
Listen to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I know from what you've told me and what your wife has told me, he's got some issues of his own that he has to deal with.
Yeah.
And he needs to be realistic about it with himself.
Yeah.
And stop. And I hate to say this because I've never met you, dude, if you're fucking listening to the show, but I'll tell you because I'm not your child. You need to grow the fuck up. You need to grow the fuck up and stop blaming everybody else for the problems in your life and your hardships. And realize that everybody's got problems and everybody's got hardships. And what are you going to do about it? You're going to be bitter? That's no way to live, man.
Yeah.
You got kids and you got grandkids that want to, or at least open to being part of your life. Grow the fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
So I hate to end Father's Day that way, but
There's a lot of fathers that have relationships like that, though. So
yeah,
at least we recognize it. But
I'm writing down my songs real quick.
yeah,
But speaking of songs, I know you did have one memory with your dad involving a song.
yeah. We'll make that my one entry to the 5.
All right, number 2.
All right.
You gonna tell everybody what your memory was, or did you already tell them? I can't remember. No, you said about him playing with you.
Yeah. No. So the song "Better Man" by Pearl Jam.
Mm-hmm.
Really and truly, this is the song that I remember most. But he did it with a lot of songs, which was just changing the words. But he changed "Better Man" to "The Butter Man," and he would sing it just like the lead singer from Pearl Jam, which Eddie Vedder.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Very easy to pull off.
But the Butter Man.
The Butter Man.
Where's the Butter Man? Have you heard the Butter Man or whatever however the lyrics go? I don't know why that used to kill me though. I used to laugh so hard at that. Anytime that song would come on, we didn't have Spotify or anything. We just had the radio or CDs. But if that song came on, man, that was it. Showtime for my dad to do his best rendition of Eddie Vedder's Butter Man.
That's good though, man. It's good that even if you don't reconcile, you don't mend bridges or anything, that you do have those like core memories that you said.
Yeah.
And even though I said like he'll pass away and he'll never have to live with it, he does have to live with it now, and you don't.
Yeah.
Like you're living a good life, and he's living like in exile.
Self-made at that point.
Self-made exile, yeah.
Yeah.
100% self-made exile.
And I don't even know. I mean, exile, self-made from us. But I literally, I don't even know if he's still alive at this moment. I couldn't tell you with absolute certainty that he is still alive.
That's wild, considering he lived here not that long ago.
Yeah. Zero communication.
Like, lived here in your home, near zero respect for your home.
Yeah.
Or your wife, or your children, for that matter, or your sister.
And then
just really entitled.
Left, pretty sure, like 95% sure made it back to Arizona. Mm-hmm. The cousin that I don't really talk about or talk to. But yeah, since then, zero. He may still live with her. He may have moved in somewhere else on his own. I get his bill sometimes here.
Same name. It's
Yeah,
understandable.
very confusing. Like, when did I sign up for Medicare?
Yeah.
But
double it and give it to Quattro.
I'll do that for his 18th birthday.
Yeah.
Here's all the mail from Junior and me. But
so I hate that we got all serious and sad on y'all, but go spend some time with your dad. Spend some time with your kids.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and don't be shitty. That's the big thing. Don't go out and be shitty. It's 90s summer, so do some shit that you used to do with your dad in the 90s. If you're back home, go to a Nashville Sounds game. Go to a Nashville Sounds game, particularly on a night when they're wearing the retro uniforms that they used to wear when we were kids in the 90s.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, do that.
We need to plan.
Go to Opry Mills and stage a protest and pretend that Opryland's still there.
That was your old theme
That's
park?
the old theme park.
Yeah.
Yeah. We might cover that in 90s summer.
I say this summer though, 2 things we need to do, and I'm telling you this now on the air so you can make it happen because I won't.
Okay.
Biscuits game.
Yes.
And we need to go canoeing or
kayaking.
Kayaking.
Hell yeah, with the GoPro.
Yeah. Maybe we can get some footage from it, from both maybe. We can upload those, but yeah. I want to try to figure out if we can do those one day.
Hell yeah.
So.
All right, well, that pretty much brings us to the end of the episode. This episode is brought to you by the DonutShopBoys.com merch store. Head over there, get your 90s summer merch. What's the promo code?
90s summer.
90s summer, 20% off your 90s summer merch. We got swimsuits, shirts, towels, fanny pack. Hopefully for this episode, we'll have the windbreakers for dads up to compliment your shirts for moms. Tell your mom about 90s summer. You know, she was probably in the prime of her life at that time.
Mildly on topic with that is we do have the shirts for mom, embroidered shirts.
Yes.
That are tie-dye t-shirts.
Perfect for the beach.
Yeah, perfect for the beach and 90s.
The 90s attire. Yeah, tie-dye made a comeback in the 90s. I remember I had a Union Bay tie-dye shirt.
Okay. Union Bay, what is that?
It was like a brand. I think it...
Old Navy?
No, I was going to say it might have been like JCPenney.
Gotcha, okay.
I'll look it up. I'll tell you. But before we leave, I'll leave you with 5 songs from the 90s that you need to go listen to this week. Number 5, Ruby Soho by Rancid. Number 4, Glycerine by Bush. Number 3, Hey Jealousy by the Gin Blossoms. Number 2, Better Man by Pearl Jam. And number 1, the obvious 90s song, Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana.
Here we go.
And think about Courtney Love. And for your boy, Professor Gorilla, and my man,
White Cube.
All right, thanks. We out.